Now, we get asked quite a lot of questions in shop, don't we, Gerard?
Yes, quite a lot, mate. Well, about
About everything in it,
all
really, in general.
brands, mate.
Yeah.
All brands do it.
Yeah.
So we thought it'd be a good topic to actually talk about.
A question of Nash.
A question of Nash, because obviously Julian's here, and we're going to ask you just a few questions, Jules.
That you get asked and I get asked.
And hopefully you can answer some
and
of
hopefully
them.
you can answer them for us, mate.
Yeah, the Ferrari has gone back. Nashy says he can't afford petrol now.
Really?
No, not really.
You'll be surprised what we get asked. So just first of all, Jules, so a question we get asked about you, like how long you been with Nash?
Wow. Well, I've probably been with Nash longer than most of the carp tigers that wander in the shop, looking after them, looking at them. They're a lot younger than I am. Nash, well, my carp fishing goes back to 1984 when I caught my first double. And I started carp fishing like anybody else. Obviously, in those days, there was no such thing as the internet, really, and social media. And it was magazines. And the only way anybody would know about you, if it wasn't locally, they'd see you in magazines. Obviously, I would get pictures in the Angler's Mail, Angling Times. I'd write for Carp Fisher, and there wasn't even a Carp World in those days. It would be David Hall's Course Fisherman. And in those days, there wasn't a lot of people who had the ability to carp fish and write. And I remember Nashy, like a lot of people do, it's no different nowadays. He'd seen a lot of my pictures in the press, and I wasn't all Nash then. I'd be like, maybe a bit of Nash gear, a bit of Daiwa gear. And I remember Kevin contacting me and saying, "You seem to be a bit of an up and coming angler. This makes me feel really old. You seem to be up and coming rather than."
So, what age would about this, Jules?
This would be 1989 when he first contacted me.
We don't want to get age away. Right?
Oh, I don't mind. 1989, I was 12. No, I wasn't. 1989, I was 26. So when people think nowadays at 17 and 18 or 16, oh, I haven't been sponsored yet, it's too late. I didn't get anything until I was in my mid-20s. And I've been in Angling Times a few times, in Angler's Mail, and I got a letter from Kevin. No such as it. There weren't emails. A letter from Kevin, which I've still got. And he said, I've seen that you're in the press. I'm quite impressed with you. Would you like to be associated with Nash Tackle? Because there was no Nash bait. It was just Nash Tackle.
Yeah.
And, of course I do. And it was just a limited amount of gear. It wasn't, there's no consultancy deal. He would just assist me with certain products. So it goes back to, I would say, 1989 when the letter from Kev came. So 89, that's 11. So that's 36 years of proper involvement with Nash.
I mean, that, Jules, obviously, nowadays, people do
flip-flop
and flit and things like that. But, I mean,
that's real commitment.
I can honestly say, I probably don't know anybody who's done 36 years with one company.
Well, yeah, and I will clarify that. So Kevin contacted me in 89. It could have been before, but I think 89, looking at because I keep everything, I keep all my records. 89 is when I started getting free gear. I may have had a bit of a support beforehand. So from 89 to 93, it was just Nash. Now in 1993, I started writing for Angling Times. Carp fishing had just started to take off a bit, and Angling Times decided, because Practical Carping had just come out, which Practical Carp Fishing, which was my book, and that seemed to be, I tried to make it carp fever for the 90s, and it sort of took hold. And Angling Times realised that carp fishing was just starting to kick off. They contacted me and they said, "We'd like you to write a weekly column for Angling Times." And it was a quarter page, black and white, and bonanza, it was 25 quid a week, £25, and it was just a black and white, and it'd be a little picture, and I'd write something about carp fishing. Carp fishing exploded, and all of a sudden, it became half a page black and white. Fox sponsored the Angling Times column, or the Angling Times in that stays the carp area, and it was quite right that they obviously wanted that page to be in affiliation with Fox. And Kev was brilliant about this, and I'll never forget that. And Kev said, "I fully understand that, Jules. You don't want to lose your weekly column." And people don't understand, there are only 2 weekly magazines. there was Angling Times and Angler's Mail. So to be a carp columnist was something I didn't want to give up. And Kev said, not a problem at all. You can be associated with Fox. You're always, I'll be our friend, as long as you don't forget what you know. So all of a sudden I don't say, oh, that carp I caught 2 years ago was on a Fox. So I was very honest about it. And I was with Fox from 94 to 98. The sponsorship finished and I went back to Nash. We stayed friends. I think he came to my house a couple of times then. I went to one of his weddings then as well. So I didn't fall out. So then from 98 through to 2025, which is another 27 years, it's been a continuous 27 years. So that's how long I've been with Nash.
Yeah, and I will say that just a bit in a big up, because obviously I work for Nash, and I were in a situation, and I talked to Kevin, I talked to Alan, and I were honest about it. And I think if you're honest with they're absolutely fantastic. They're brilliant people anyway, but just that honesty, mate, it's right, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like Nash Bait. I didn't join Nash Bait until 2010, and I didn't use Nash rods and reels until then. When it became a conflict of interest, Daiwa was fine. Kev said you can use Daiwa as long as they just do their rods and reels.
Yeah.
But when Daiwa brought out luggage, it became a conflict of interest, and I parted ways with Daiwa just as amicably. John Middleton, same with Nutrabaits. It got to a certain stage when Nutrabaits were not able to do for me what I thought they should do, and we parted on friends, and I used Nash Bait from 2010 or about 2011. And Kev always used to say to me prior to then, he wanted me to use Nash Bait, and I said no, I'm loyal to Nutrabaits. And Kev said, well, I think you're an idiot. I won't say exactly how he put it. I think you're an idiot, but I respect your loyalty to somebody who looked after you.
It is about loyalty.
And, you know, it is loyalty to me. So that's how long I've been with them. That's the honest truth.
Brilliant, mate. Right, that brings on to a good question, because you've been with them for quite a few years, right? You've seen many products or items get discontinued. Now, just explain to us why this happens, Joe. Because I know you'll get asked a lot of shows about that.
And we get hammered for it. I love that. Why have they got rid of it? They sell thousands.
Yeah, the problem is there's stuff that it's called the fishing business, not the fishing friendship. In order for items to be stocked, to be produced and then stocked, they've got to sell. And even if it's your favourite item, if it isn't selling, the shops will look at that item still there, it's not selling, and that item is taking up, as you well know, valuable space in the shop. If it's not selling, then if people are not buying it, the shop aren't selling it, and if the shop aren't selling it, they're not buying it from Nash or whoever. And if Nash are not selling it, they discontinue it because it's not a product that enough consumers want. Believe you me, if they're selling tons of it, they ain't discontinuing it unless, number one, that parts of what made that product special, which is usually bait, aren't available anymore.
Yes.
And that's the big problem with bait, is that often items that you used to, or flavors, additive ingredients that are used in a bait, are not available anymore. Could be due to the EU and things like that, or just aren't made anymore. And they can't make that bait anymore. So they have to discontinue it because it's either not selling or they can't make the same bait anymore. I love the key, and that was one of my favourite baits ever, but nobody bought it. So unfortunately, it doesn't matter that Julian loves the key and 500 or 1,000 other people do. If other people aren't buying it and it's sat on the shelves, you have to discontinue it. So it's the same with all firms. There's a third one as well. People want new and stuff. You can't just make the range bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger because you're diversifying too much. And anglers want new baits. Even anglers who've caught on baits year in, year out, they'll come and they'll want to change bait, and firms have to accommodate that. So Scopet squid, believe it or not, at one stage we couldn't sell it. It was discontinued. And what happened? Within a year, people are saying, oh, I want Scopet squid. You built up the demand because it was discontinued. So it's those three items. It's not selling, they can't get the ingredients for it, or it's fallen out of fashion. It's not discontinued for any. If it was selling in the millions, it wasn't going to be discontinued if they could still make it.
So I hope that's all okay for you who's listening to our listeners.
For sure.
Don't blame me. Certainly don't blame Gerard or Brad or Lee.
Another really daft question is, people always, obviously Kev used to be on films forever, didn't he, back in the day? But we don't see him as much now, and people always ask, where is he?
Well, I can tell you where he is today. He's in Portugal. In his villa. I'd like to think I had one as well. Maybe next year. Kev will soon be 70. Now, I'm in my 60s. He's in his 70s. Gerard? 40s?
40s, yeah.
40s. We all get a bit older.
Low 40s.
Low 40s, yeah. We need to reweigh that one. Yeah, well, I think it's an upper 40, to be honest. Not a low 40. This is the only time when the weight is under. The thing is, people forget that Kev's been doing this, or he's been carp fishing probably since the 60s. He's been in the trade since the mid-70s. So let's say 75, that's 50 years. You can't expect him to go to every slideshow.
Yeah.
There is a period where you are having to do less. People have lives outside carp fishing. Kev is still a massive part of Nash Tackle and Bait. He is an inspiration. He's the figurehead. He's as involved now with his work rate than ever before, but he just doesn't turn up at the shows. It's not something he does it occasionally. He brought his 2 books out. He's involved with a lot of the gear. He's the figurehead, but he's still with us. And it's nice to have somebody older than me in carp fishing that's still alive.
He's a true pioneer, isn't he?
He's a pioneer. I think he's often undervalued, whether you're a Corda fan, a Fox fan, or a Nash fan. His contribution to carp fishing is right up there if you look at all those. And the thing I'll say about Kev as well, he's a carp fisherman at heart, and he wasn't a businessman who came into carp fishing. He was a carp man who turned it into a business. And originally, it wasn't obviously Nash. It was Happy Hooker.
I can remember.
But I remember his wife said, "I am not picking up this phone saying Happy Hooker," and that is a true.
I didn't even know
that is a true story. It was Happy Hooker Tackle. And there's only so many times your wife can answer the phone saying Happy Hooker.
That's brilliant, though. That's
true, but he's still as keen now, and he still tells me off just as much now as he ever did.
Yeah. Well, like we said, on about pioneers and stuff like that, I'll give a big up to Alan Blair as well, because he brings some fantastic products out.
Absolutely, yeah. Alan, you are a process of the person that was your leader, and Alan's energy and work rate and drive is indicative of Kevin Nash.
Yeah.
If the boss at the top is killing himself, you can't get away with being a slacker.
Yeah.
And I know that. My bosses were Nashy, Tim Paisley, David Hall. None of them would accept, I'll do it tomorrow.
Well, that brings me on. That's why I mentioned Alan, because Alan introduced the scope range, didn't he?
Yeah.
The retractable rod. So I know you at first didn't.
Boys rods.
Yeah, but now, Jules.
Yeah.
So
I've gone full circle. So say from
your 12... urban banks, aren't they?
Urban banks, yeah.
I'm going to start wearing my baseball cap back to front and going, yo, bro.
And Air Max. You need some Air Max, Jules.
Too tight.
So on this, what we're going to talk about, scope rods, obviously they did do a 6 foot, but 9 and 10 foot.
It's a scope rods are non.
Or 12 foot, which you prefer, Jules?
Well, when they first came out, I just thought, carp fishing is hype. And some of the hype is very justified, and some of it is very focused, and it's only useful for certain things. And I thought, I've used 12-foot rods since 1986. Why would I want to change? And Nashy being Nashy, he's like a little bull terrier. He grabs hold of your leg and he never lets go. And he'd go, you're missing out. And eventually I thought, okay, I'll try them. And I tried them for the first time, and I thought I didn't rate them. They were 10 foot. You have to get used to casting.
You've got to get used to them, mate, yeah.
And my casting wasn't very good. But flukily, I caught a carp the first time out. And catching a carp first time out, be it the hook, the bait, the rod, the main line, or whatever, it didn't have a confidence builder. I thought, actually, when I played that carp, that wasn't bad. I might give these a go. Tried it for a second time. And all of a sudden I thought, because I was brought up as a coarse fisherman, I was more of a flick angler with my casting. Yeah. The scope rod was lighter. It just felt like an extension of my arm. And genuinely, from certainly the third session onwards, I would say 98% of my carp have been caught on shorter rods, 9 and 10 foot. And I find them easier to cast accurately. I find that packing down and all that. If you're buying a rod just because it packs down easier, that's not a reason to spend 200 quid. You know, that is, can I cast accurately? Does it feel part of me? Can I play carp comfortably? And for me, that's what it is. The only time I use the 12-foot rods is when I'm fishing extreme range. And I know you can cast long range with a 9 and 10-foot rod, but I find for punch casting long range, the longer rod works. If you've got a 12-foot rod and you've not got any money spare and you're happy with your 12-foot rod, don't change. But if you are wanting to change your rods and you're fishing up to 100 yards, to me, the scope rod is the excellent one. And I haven't used anything else for 2017. So we're talking now 8-9 years, and I absolutely love them. And genuinely, you can go and look at my Facebook page, my social media don't lie. You go back to 2017, it's the same rods for the last 8 years on 95% of all my fishing. You know, it's easy for people to say, oh, this is the best thing ever. And then you look back a year ago and it wasn't, and a year it wasn't. But, you know, social media doesn't lie.
Just out of interest, Jules, what test curve and length do you use? Is it
for me? It's 10 foot, £3. I find the 3.2 and 3.5 a little bit too stiff for my fishing. I've got some 3.5s for long range punching with a big PVA bag, method feeder, 3.5, 4 ounce leads. But for me, the £3, 10 foot cork rod, it's honestly like and I'm not joking, it feels just like I've got a 10 foot arm for casting plain fish. Anything else that was 10 foot, I'd love.
Brilliant.
I love my rods, mate. I love them.
I'll tell you what, Jules, I mean, enjoying it this much, it's going to be a 2-part of this, so we'll see you next one.
Oh, thanks for that.